Okay, so we are here on January 2nd with
Caitlyn Sinclair.
Cool, and we're going to ask a few questions about freezing sweeps. First question is, have you experienced being swept, being moved or had your property taken when the temperatures are freezing cold?
Yes. And
Tell us about what happened.
It's been terrible. Like, they come at 4:30 in the morning to put up the fencing, and then they come shake our tents, and they tell us we have 2 hours to move, and it's well below 32 degrees. It's been 14 degrees, 6 degrees, and we can't really move at that point, and they're still insistent. And if we're not done by then, they tend to start taking our stuff and putting it into storage, which there's just no point in trying to get it back out of there.
Tell about how this has affected you. What are the different ways that this has affected you?
Well, either we've lost shelters, we've lost blankets, we've lost a lot of belongings that are necessary for the cold, and we've also had other friends that have struggled with it too. So then they come into our tent, and it's just too cramped at that point, and there's not enough resources at that point to help them out in the same day, and they just don't understand. I don't think how much it sucks.
Talk about what it's like to have to do that when it's freezing cold, to have to actually pack your stuff and all that.
It goes extra slow. Normally we can be out of there within 2 hours, like they ask, but when it's freezing cold, we don't even want to get out of the tent. So we try to go extra slow because we don't want to go outside. So we try to keep the heat in, and it sucks because then it's having to go move it and put it all back up again, and it's never ending.
Have you had health effects? Has it affected your health in any way?
Yeah, I have asthma and COPD, and so going from the warm to the cold and having to push all the heavy carts and stuff, it makes it to where I can't breathe. I've had numerous hospital visits over it. So.
And what about the stuff you talked about losing? Talk about how that affects you with what you do once you've lost that stuff and it's freezing cold.
I mean, we try to ask everybody that we can think of, friends-wise, that might have extra stuff, but they don't always have extra stuff to spare. So most times we'll try to get into one of our friends who has an apartment down here, but with being only able to have 2 guests signed in, it's hard. And I have a dog too, so trying to keep everybody warm and off the ground isn't exactly easy, but it's mostly the propane that we use for heat if we can't get all the supplies, but we just keep trying to redo it best we can. But the cost of having replacing it is enormous every time though. So
have you ever not been there when there was a sweep happening and then come back and your stuff was gone?
They've never actually taken our stuff. A friend of ours luckily was there when they actually did that, because we weren't there, but she luckily saved it all. And then the very next sweep they took all of hers. So it was definitely a grace, thankful saving grace that she was there. Otherwise we would have lost 3 tents.
And for yourself or others that have been through that, is that ever when it's freezing cold, do you sometimes go inside, whether it's to a friend's house? You said sometimes you do that to a friend's house or a shelter or something like that.
I won't go to the shelter with my dog because she's very picky. But my husband, he'll send me inside. He won't let me stay outside unless we really can't get inside. So with the negative 30 degree temps, I couldn't get inside, so we stayed in the tent. But with the last cold front we had, after that, I was able to stay inside. So he tries to get me to go inside. It's not exactly easy though.
And if your husband wasn't there watching your tent and you were inside and they did a sweep, what would happen to your tent?
It'd go away, because I don't think anybody over there would move it. So. And getting it out of storage is just as hard.
And anything else you'd want to say about shelter? So you said with your dog, it really doesn't work to go into a shelter. Is there anything else about
I
it?
mean, like every time I've gone inside, because I used to stay in the shelters, I'd get too sick. Like I'd go from being out here and I'd be fine, like just a little breathing problem, to being in the hospital for a week. Once I go inside, like I get sicker going in the shelters. There's also but like there's always arguing and everything, and emotionally I can't do it. Like it's rough as is. I mean, we have enough freaking anger issues out here freaking with people and stuff. It doesn't need to be carried into the shelters. So I just won't do it.
Anything else that you would add? Any other questions that you want to add to?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your stories.
Yeah. Thank you, and I don't have a, you can end it.